What's up, everybody? It's Band A. We're back here to do another deck profile. The ban list has come out and we have to modify some of these decks. Anyway, so this one is going to be for my Marincess duelists. We did lose Bahamut Shark, so we made some adjustments, and I'm going to go ahead and jump on into that now. Let's go. Alrighty, everybody, we're going to go ahead and jump on into this deck profile. If you guys see anything that I should change up or any suggestions, feel free to leave that down in the comment section down below. But for now, this is what we're trying out. We're going to start out with 3 copies of Blue Tang. It's going to be our best combo starter. Next is 3 copies of Seahorse. I used to not really like this card a whole lot. It kind of conflicted the fact that it was a level 3. Can't use it to go into Bahamut Shark, but since we no longer have Bahamut Shark, I mean, even still, it was a great combo starter. I still like the Blue Slug a little bit better, or the Blue Tang a little bit better, but Seahorse is a really good combo starter, especially now. Next, I have 2 copies of Aqua Angel. If this card was not once per duel for both effects, it would be a for sure 3 of. I could even see potentially running it at 1, but for now, I like the 2. Just higher chance of seeing it in hand with your opening draw. I also run 2 copies of Spring Girl. Most lists that you're going to see, you're going to run 3 copies of Spring Girl. The problem with Spring Girl is she is not full combo on her own. So you normal summon Spring Girl, link her off, you're not going to get combo off with just the Spring Girl, so I run her at 2. Also Pascalis, I am also running at 2. I see a lot of lists that have this card at 3 as well. 1, she's not combo on her own. Second of all, this deck runs extra engines, at least the build that I'm running. You guys can make changes accordingly. You know, I always challenge people to try something out of the ordinary, but with this deck list, it doesn't make sense to run more than 2. And then we run 1 copy of Marincess Mandarin, and that's going to be all of the Marincess monsters that we run. So, yeah, it's 11, not 13. So 5 plus 8, we're at 13 Marincess monsters in the main deck. You can run the level 5 as well. That's not terrible. It's just a matter of what you want to cut for it. For our spells and traps for Marincess, we run 2 copies of Battle Ocean and 2 copies of Dive. Bricking on Dive is horrible. If I could, I would run 1. If this card had any better recur from the graveyard, I would run 1. Absolutely hate seeing multiple copies of this card in my hand. And then last, I run 2 copies of Marincess Wave. So 2, 2, and 2. So our 13 plus 6, that's going to give us 19 Marincess cards in the main deck, leaving us 21 slots for additional stuff. In that, we are running 3 copies of Ice Shade, Ran, and Green. I'm kind of floating back and forth whether or not to run the Ice Jade and Green and 1 Cradle, or running 2 Cradle instead of her. Right now, just in the main deck, I have the 2 Cradle just to make sure that we get our Synchro 10 on. It's just more consistency to get our Ran and Green to hand. But the Ice Jade and Green, she's actually really good as well. The problem is that we most of the time need our normal summon, and she requires your normal summon for the turn. So we're going to stick with the Cradles for now. Next up, as our replacement for our Bahamut, we are running 3 copies of Swap Frog and 1 copy of Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier. And then our spell and trap to go with that is going to be Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. So we can still get into Totally Awesome. Obviously, this isn't a searchable thing, but we do run 3 copies of Swap Frog. Not to mention, we have our way to get into a Synchro 10 with our Ice Jade, Ran, and Green. There has been some thought process to play around with this a bit and go into more of a Marincess Ice Jade or Ice Barrier. Marincess Ice Jade, Ice Barrier kind of mix. It would be cutting out the totally awesome altogether. But, you know, I like the fact that swap works so well with this deck since everything that we run is water attribute. So for now, this is what we're running. I may do another video in the future with ice barrier stuff, and then potentially another one with just Ice Jade, Marincess Ice Jade. But if you guys would like to see either of those videos, go ahead and comment down below. The one with the most comments I will do first, and then potentially do a follow-up of the other one if people want to see that as well. And then for our last monster for getting combos going is we run the 1 copy of Silent Sea Nettle. There's a couple different reasons that I run the Sea Nettle. Obviously it just extends, but on top of that, with the extra deck and how I run the extra deck, I like having this card to get stuff back to the extra deck. Moving on, this deck has a big problem trying to go second, so to combat that, I do have 3 copies of Gamma Seal, 3 copies of Deep Sea Minstrel, and 3 copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. So, you know, monster removal, make sure that we can play through our combo, and then when our opponent's going, we're going to make sure our life points are a lot higher than theirs. And then for our last board-breaking 40th card is going to be a copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. I've always found the 1-of to be a great addition to any deck. So that's going to round out our main deck. I'm going to move on to the extra deck. In the extra deck, we run 1 copy of Blue Slug and 2 copies of Marincess Sea Angel. The Blue Slug gets us 1 back from the graveyard, and the Sea Angel is going to search us something. Like I said, if I could run the Marincess Dive at 1, I would. If Angel added from deck or graveyard, this card would be broken. But in this case, we're either getting the field spell or we're getting the dive. But I want to make sure that even after the first turn, we still have an additional Sea Angel to get us an additional spell and start our combo over. Blue Slug is really good on your first turn, but Sea Angel is better on the second turn. So those are going to be our link 1s. For our link 2s, we run 1 copy of Anemone and 1 copy of Crystal Heart. I see a lot of people running 2 copies of Anemone. It is very nice having 2 copies of Anemone. I mainly just end up recycling this same copy back to the extra deck, so I don't need to run the second copy, which also helps out with extra deck space, just because it goes back. And then obviously the Crystal Heart. For our link 3s, we run 1 copy of Marbled Rock and 1 copy of Coral Triangle. I'm usually going into Marbled Rock. There are certain situations, if my hand's loaded enough, that I will go for the Coral Triangle, but most of the time we're just going to go Marbled Rock, shuffle back our copy of Anemone, and then yeah, move on from there. For our link 4s, we are running 1 copy of Marincess Aqua Argonaut and 1 copy of Marincess Great Bubble Reef. Usually going first, we're going to go Argonaut. Going second, we're going to go Bubble Reef. Just depending. Either way, if we do end up going Bubble Reef, we're probably going to go in towards the Atlantis, going second to get rid of our opponent's field and only special summon back the waters. That's going to round out all of our link monsters, and then we're going to move on to our Synchro and XCs. For our Synchros, we run 1 copy of Che Ying and 1 copy of Ice Jade Gamir Ag Green. The other option, if I were to go Ice Jade route and or Ice Barrier, would be running the Ice Barrier Synchro 10 that special summons out additional Ice Barrier monsters. So if you were going to go that route, we're still going to run these 2, but we're going to cut out the XCs from the deck. But for now, since we are still running the XCs, we needed a good rank 4 water, and that is going to be our number 4 Stealth Kraken. And then to accompany the Stealth Kraken, we also do run one Stealth Kraken spawn. If you can figure out a way to do it, you can run multiple copies of spawn. This might end up being something else anyway, and like I said, I am interested in trying out the Ice Barrier variant of Marincess, so combining those two. This might come out all together and then more focused on the synchro monsters, but for now this is what we got. And then for our last XCs, our last monster in the extra deck, we are running one copy of Totally Awesome to go with our swap frogs, so we can still get our Omni Negate out on the field. We got our 2 tokens, we got a slime token and an ice barrier token. And then moving on to the side deck, the only non-water we have any access to is going to be Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. We do have a 3rd copy of Marincess Wave for going first. We do also have a copy of Bubble Ring for going first. And then Called By if we're having trouble against a deck that's running heavy hand traps. Hand traps are a little bit out of the format, but we'll see how this new format shapes up with everything changing. The Called By ended up being a main deck card. Again, this deck struggles going second, so we main a lot of going second stuff, so we side a lot of going first stuff. And next is going to be 3 copies of Ice Barrier. It's just a really interesting card. It's good going first for sure. And then if we know for a fact we're going second, we don't want to use this card when we're going into time, but 3 copies of Gizmek, the dreaded Deluge Dragon. You pay 1,500 life points, but it's a free water body on the field, and then you destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. Most of the time this is going to be impermed or negated in some way, which is a great negate, not to mention we are still going to be able to use it as material to get into some of our stuff. And then I have 3 one-ofs, and these also could be sided in for going first. One is that Ice Jade and Green, an additional copy of Aqua Angel, and then an interesting one that potentially could be a 3 of is Ice Knight. The thing I really like about Ice Knight is it locks you into waters when you use him. The problem with it is if you're going to want to run this going first, but if the whole point is to lock you into water so you can use your Zelantis so that you can banish your opponent's field and then special summon back everything that was waters. We banish the whole field and then only special back waters. You're usually using this going first, and the Zelantis is for going second, breaking boards. So I was looking at this as making it a focus on like making sure I'm locked into waters, which usually you're going to do throughout your combo anyway. So these 3 cards could potentially be anything else you want. This is just stuff I'm playing around with at this time. And yeah, so anyway, that's going to conclude our Marincess deck list post the April 2025 ban list. If you guys have any suggestions, like I said, please let me know down below. This deck has yet to be solved after the ban list with Bahamut Shark being gone. And yeah, if you guys want to see Ice Jade or Ice Barrier variants of this deck, please comment down below. The most commented, most liked, we will definitely make a deck list for you guys. Anyway, thank you. All right, everybody, that's the deck list for Marincess post ban list in April of 2025. There are plenty of other things that we can do with the deck. The deck isn't dead. We did lose Bahamut Shark, so our consistency on getting into Totally Awesome isn't completely destroyed because we can still use Swap Frog and go to the Ice Barrier route. Potentially going into additional Ice Barrier monsters and taking out the Totally Awesome and the Swap Frogs and focus more on a Synchro Link build might be the answer. Also, we could go with the Ice Jade variant. The Ice Jade variant is going to focus on making it so your opponent can only activate monster effects the turn that they are summoned, and then also activating the effect that monsters that were summoned this turn cannot activate their effects. So it basically is like having a skill drain on the field against your opponent. Your monster's effects are still live. So yeah, there's those 2 variants. Whichever one of those 2 either being more a synchro based ice barrier variant or going more of a skill drain lockout variant with the Ice Jade stuff. That would be the two options. Whichever one of those two versions is commented, liked, down in the comment section down below. We will end up doing a deck list of that. And then, yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.